Hey everybody, Will here. Brad is unfortunately feeling under the weather this week and we weren't able to record a new episode for you all. But what we have done is pulled deep from the Patron episode archive to get Patron episode 19, which was recorded last year, just before Halloween. It was posted on the 30th of October. And we will be running that for everybody this week. So enjoy. This is Patron episode 19. Don't pull the frenulum. We do a few Q&As. We talk about nightmarish self-closing doors. Look, there's a little bit of body. It's all the stuff you want on Halloween. You got a little bit of body horror. You got a little bit of candy talk. It's a real journey for all of us. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll do patron thank yous at the end of the Patron app. See you in a bit. I get real anxious when you don't have the beeper thing up at the microphone and there's only like 3 seconds left. I know that there's plenty of time.
Look, I'm the fastest draw in the West. Okay.
But I just feel like it's like the door is going down really slowly and like you're sliding down and your hand is still under it. And like,
God, there's that scene. And here I am talking about Titanic again, but there's that scene in Titanic where all the, once the collision has happened and the boiler rooms are all being flooded. And I guess they had what were, for the time, pretty new electrical doors.
Yeah.
Like watertight doors that would seal as those compartments flooded. And there's that scene of the guy doing exactly what you're talking about. And his leg gets through about a microsecond before it would have just been lopped off. And I listened to the Historian commentary track.
Ooh.
They have like the James Cameron commentary track, the actor one, you know what I mean? Yeah. The producers, blah, blah, blah. But they have
the heyday of commentary tracks when Titanic came out on DVD.
Yes, but there is one of the commentary tracks is the two historians who were the historians on the production.
Ooh.
And one of them flat out says, yes, people lost limbs to these kinds of doors on a frequent basis.
Well, look, if every disclaimer, if every warning label on a consumer product in the 21st century it represents a loss of life, limb, or personal injury lawsuit, like think about that you know that mechanism that keeps the elevator door from chopping your arm off?
Oh no.
Look, that didn't get there. That wasn't developed. That wasn't developed out of the goodness of people's hearts. That was developed as a straight response to capitalism.
I need to go watch Total Recall again.
I mean, look, I'm just waiting for the Resident Evil laser grids to come out because that's the real bad tech.
Look, it is too early, both in the morning and in this podcast, for such grim material. Although, granted, it's damn near Halloween, but
and it's technology.
It is. I guess. Okay, sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Fine.
Elevator door stoppers. That's technology.
This is what people are paying for. Just grisly depictions of.
Okay. So when I was a kid, we only had the town that we lived in had maybe 3 elevators that were accessible to normal humans, right? Like there were a couple in the mall.
Okay.
Not a lot of 2-story buildings.
That's okay. Out. You know what? That's fair. Now that you mention it, and when I think back on my upbringing,
yeah,
you're right. A lot of 1-story structures.
Yeah, like the mall was 2 stories and there were a couple elevators, 3-4 elevators spread throughout there so that people could get up and down if they couldn't use the stairs or the escalator. But for the most part, like elevators were an unusual occurrence. And the one in Belk's that was glass was a very exciting moment. Like when you got to go in the Belk's glass elevator, it was very cool. But I distinctly remember my mom telling me as the door was closing, we were close to it, I was like going to jam my arm into the gap to stop the elevator door and open it, because I thought that mechanism was really cool. She was like, don't ever stick your arm into an elevator like that.
She knew.
But like that's the New York thing, right? Like that's like a New York, some young go-getter in New York trying to get the last spot in the elevator just jams their arm in.
Let's talk about something else.
How you doing, Brad? How's your Friday morning?
Let's talk about something besides losing limbs, if we possibly can.
We'll save the Inscription talk for the end of the show because there might be spoilers.
That's right. We were just talking about Inscription before this, but
speaking of losing things,
boy, we rolled in here with a plan, and I have completely forgotten all of it.
I think. Well, we had an excess of cues.
We definitely have a lot of cues. I'm sitting here looking at them right now. There's
a bunch of good ones.
There's some good ones.
Yeah,
here's a good one.
Okay.
You want to just do some cues? Okay, what are we doing here? We're going to do some cues.
Let's do some cues, make them into A's.
Hang on. I got to open up my embouchure. I got to
Oh yeah, did you loosen your vocal cords?
Massage the vocal folds.
Did you get there? How's it like? Okay, so Brad, you've been doing voice therapy is what I'm getting here.
Started my voice therapy. Yeah.
Is it helping?
I think so. I had my second one, and he was like, okay, you need to make sure you keep doing this every day, even when it seems like it's not doing anything for a while.
It took about 2 or 3 weeks for me to like really feel anything.
He excuse me. Oh, see, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to clear my throat. That was like rule number 1. Do not clear your throat. Like swallow, do anything, drink water, anything you can do to not clear your throat. But also he was very upfront about, yes, these exercises are ridiculous and it might seem like they are not doing anything for a while.
When I did this a few years ago, the thing that struck me, is that I immediately learned on the first session, which was in person, that I really don't like having strangers touch my neck.
Interesting.
I didn't like, and it's not just touching your neck. It's like they're finding the gap between your larynx and your trachea, and then like massaging the muscles that I didn't know existed there.
So that's interesting because mine are all over Zoom for obvious reasons. And at first I was like, man, am I getting shortchanged? Am I not getting the full therapeutic benefit here by not going in and seeing the person? But now that you put it that way, maybe it's for the best.
Look, the lady who did the voice therapy with me, the therapist was awesome. She was very nice. She was very kind. She was very like accommodating and gentle. But like by the end of that first session, I was like, she was like, hey, are you okay? Because I looked like I was about to have a panic attack. Because literally, like, you have a stranger grabbing your larynx.
Yeah, like having somebody wrap their hand around at least part of your throat is maybe a little bit of a panic-inducing thing.
And like as she said, like the real downside of some of these exercises is if you push in the wrong place, then you can like cut off blood supply to your brain and make yourself pass out and stuff like that.
That is true.
You know, be careful. Be careful out there.
Yeah. So,
but it took a while for it to work.
I've been keeping up with the necular muscle. Necular is not the word for things in the neck, but the muscle massaging is easy to keep up with.
Yeah.
I've been doing the blowing bubbles through a straw thing pretty regularly. I know you didn't get that one.
I didn't get that one. I got the under chin, like the tip of your chin.
I have not been doing a great job keeping up with the tongue stretches.
Like the tongue stretches. I don't want to see that much of my tongue. No. I had to do it in front of the mirror to do it right for a while.
Well, so here's the best part, because I'm doing it over Zoom and they can't like help me do it properly in person.
Yeah.
I'm getting to see a lot of my speech pathologist's tongue.
Oh, that's great.
Because this is what I was looking for. He's demonstrating for me over and over. So I'm getting to see like the full uvula experience.
There was a lot of demonstrating even when you were in person. And you know what? If I was rating things that I'm uncomfortable with, like having gone through the whole fertility gamut before our daughter was born, let's see, on a scale of 1 to 10, the testicular inspection in front of a room of medical students, that's number 1 on the discomfort list.
Ooh, wow.
The testicular ultrasound, number 2 on the discomfort list. That one was like you're in the fun room where you get to see the baby for the first time on the ultrasound, except for it's just you and a person, a ultrasound technician in there who's like just jamming your boys with the ultrasound wand. Yeah. That was bad. Having the throat touched like constantly and regularly over an hour-long session, that's number 3. It's right up there. Wow. And then surprisingly, when she was like yanking my tongue out of my mouth, that was less bad. I was okay with that one.
Man, it's tricky. It's technical. You got to make sure you want the stretch to feel, you want to feel the stretch in the back of the tongue. You don't want to pull the frenulum.
Yeah, don't pull the frenulum. It's like, well, so my frenulum's cut.
Never. What?
Yeah. This is a thing that they did if you had trouble like, I don't remember why it was done. It was done when I was a baby before, maybe for nursing or eating or something. I can't remember.
Okay, so you have no memory of it happening?
I have no memory of that.
Okay.
I don't have a frenulum, and then the little, I mean, it's still there, I guess, but it doesn't do anything. The other one that I don't have is I had to have gum surgery when I was young. So, you know, the little piece of skin that holds the bottom of your lip to your gums? I have 2 of those because it was cut and then they grew back separately instead of together.
What? Wow, man.
Mouth stuff is gross.
It is.
That's the TLDR.
At least it heals fast. I start to say like having the frenulum cut kind of sounds liberating. Actually, that's just like extra tongue flexibility.
You'd think, but it doesn't really. There's not really any. I can't stick my tongue out further. I can't roll my tongue. I can't do anything cool.
I'm trying so hard not to clear my throat right now. What do I do?
Don't have a sip of water.
I can't not do it. Sorry.
God damn. I'm narking on you, Brad. I'm turning you in, man.
Did you have the chance to opt out of the group of medical students observing your examination? I can imagine that there might be some pressure there to be cool and not opt out of it.
So my general policy at the doctor is that if the box, because I go to UCSF doctors fairly regularly, my GP is a UCSF doctor, so like he refers me to UCSF people, and they're students at the UCSF. It's just part of the deal. You get really good doctors, but often they're students.
Of course.
And my general policy is I always just check the box without thinking about it. And when I went to the fertility clinic to the urologist, I didn't really consider the full implications of that. And like I saw the attending first, who was like not a intern, but before you're a real full doctor, all the way after you're a doctor, but before you're like done with your training, when you're doing specialist training, you're is
that a resident?
Resident, yes. I saw the resident, or maybe even a a person doing their like post residency, and she was awesome, and she was like, okay, this all looks good, blah 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 blah. She's like, I'm gonna go get the doctor and have him take a look too. I was like, okay, that's fine. And the doctor comes in, and like up until this point, everything's perfectly normal, like gloves, the whole thing. I don't know if you've ever been to the urologist, but like there's a like you're usually standing.
Okay.
And then the doctors are low, either on a chair or on like a knee thing or something. So they're like at eye level with the business.
Yes.
And I can't believe it. I don't think I've ever told this story before publicly also. So this is that you're welcome, patrons. So I'm standing there. He comes in. The first time I've met the guy, he's like, hey, do you mind if some students come in? And it's a little room. There's like a mirror on the other room. I'm like, he says, do you mind if some students observe? And I was like, oh, there's a mirror on the other room. It's probably like two-way glass, one-way glass or something. So they'll just go into like another room. And they'll look through fuck no. It's like a 7-foot wide observation like room that's wide enough for a bed and a stool and a couple of a chair and like some cabinets. And it seemed like a fucking clown car worth of like what appeared to be like preteen, mostly women walk in.
Boy.
So they're all like 22 years old or 23 years old or something. And I'm standing there with my pants, about to take my pants off again. The doctor is like, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm thinking this is a lot, right? So he's like, okay, drop your pants. And I pull my pants down and he doesn't put fucking gloves on.
What?
Right.
That sounds like malpractice to me.
Look.
What the fuck?
I mean, it's all sealed. There's no fluid transfer.
I know, but still.
But also, like, a little bit of the impersonality of the gloves might have been nice there.
It's so easy to put gloves on.
Anyway.
Man.
That was
I'm just,
like,
holy crap.
Gina was in the lobby waiting for me there because we had done like the full round that day. And she got done first. And she came back out and she's like, oh, how was it? I was like, dude, you have like I know that women's doctor stuff is often awful and impersonal and like I get it, but Jiminy Christmas, 20 people when I'm like 20 people inspecting the junk and the doctor being like, hey, take a look at this. This is like, at least she didn't like get everybody to feel anything. So that was good.
She was very confused why her husband was oozing out of the elevator in the form of a puddle.
I think about it before I check the box now is the big TLDR there.
I could see that. Was it really like 20 people? Jeez.
It was probably like 7, but it felt like a million. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things where you're like, oh, my brain doesn't know what to do with this. This is bad. There's a billion ways I could make this much worse. So I'm just going to not say anything and try not to think about this too much. And then we'll be done.
I keep picturing like toward the end of some like very macabre kind of game, like Inside or something. Like you're in this sterile medical environment and all of a sudden would just out of nowhere, right after you drop your pants with a flourish, the doctor waves his arm and the curtain drops.
Look,
and there are two dozen 20-somethings staring at you.
So like I had to go to a different specialist once, and they had like the observation room. So it was like a police lineup room or something, right? So there's like a big glass one-way mirror on one wall, and the students went in the other room. That was fine. Like honestly, if the room had been slightly larger, like if the room where the doctor saw me had been like not 9 feet by 12 feet or something, it would have been okay. If the students had been in there already when I came in, that might have been okay. I don't feel violated or anything. It wasn't bad. It was just unexpected and profoundly weird.
Yeah. I think the only tactic there for me is you just have to tell yourself, I will never see any of these people again.
Yeah.
Except it's not the biggest city, so you might.
Well, and also the weirdest thing about the whole deal was that I felt like I was at least 20 years older than all of them, maybe combined.
I almost feel like that would make it better because, like, at that point, like, who are you trying to impress, right? Like, you have no social connection to these people and never will. It's like you're never going to see them at a party.
Like, I worked. You know, I almost went. I was on track to go to med school. I don't know if you know this.
Oh.
But yeah, like I was going to go to med. What the fuck is this? We're supposed to be answering questions.
Anyway. All these questions here.
Yeah, but I got to my junior year in high school and was supposed to shadow a doctor for the summer, and I did that, and I was like, oh, this is fucking terrible. I don't want to do this, and I suddenly found myself with this biochemistry degree, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life at age 24 or 23, and that's when I started writing for ours.
Yeah, and they're like, all these seminary students are writing about computers. I guess I could get in on that.
Yeah, there you go. So
all right.
Let's start some Q's a days.
Yeah, okay. Let me see here. I had a good one, and I scrolled right past it.
Oh, no.
Where did it go? You know what? Courtesy of ENT, there's a good question at the very end of this thing, so I'm just going to scroll all the way down. Okay. It's kind of a long one. Alongside the recent DNS outages across several companies and networks, there's been a lot of the old cliche about... Okay, I'm not sure if there's an autocorrect thing here. I'm not quite clear on the meaning of this phrase, but there's been a lot of the old cliche about software ending a miracle and held together with string.
I think it's needing a miracle. To ship. Yeah.
Okay.
That being held together with, or software being a miracle and held together with string.
That was what I thought. Yeah, I think that might be an autocorrect. Anyway,
yeah, this is thanks Android.
Thanks algorithms. The meaning is clear enough.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there is rock-solid software in the world that doesn't fall apart. It's just boring, and there's no news in stuff not falling apart. The downside is that it's expensive, takes ages to develop, and often looks fugly. How many features would you give up to have a rock-solid service? If the internet still looked like 1999 but never fell over, would you take it?
Huh.
I mean, this feels like a loaded question because even without the, perfect stability he's proposing, I would still take the internet of 1999 again if I could, because that would delete, let's say, 15 years of social ruination that has come about through the current internet.
Yeah, I feel like Ars Technica did a really good thing a couple of years ago about how NASA writes software specifically in terms of the space shuttle control software and the stuff that can't fail.
Right.
And then also to the point that and also, just to be clear, there's stuff like this in airplanes and power grid and water systems and control systems for all this other stuff. But the NASA stuff was especially interesting because it had to be relatively fast and redundant and fail over instantly and not fail. So they had multiple contractors write the same software. They ran the software on redundant computers. They had one computer that was a different computer than all the other computers. And all of those are constantly checking against each other. And if the vote, if multiples disagree with each other, then they had failover procedures for that situation too.
Oh, that's cool.
So we should that would be a good guest episode, is to get the person who wrote that article maybe and track them down. It might have been Eric or Kyle or something from Mars.
I'd love to talk about that. I mean, like NASA over time has had a decent amount of, catastrophic failure and loss of life, but you never hear about it being due to software. It's always mechanical generally.
Well, it's we talked about this with the Facebook thing, but it's about the no blame postmortems, right? Like when the Facebook thing happened, it didn't happen because somebody pressed the wrong button. It happened because there was a failure in the infrastructure and
institutional failure
in the institution. Yeah.
Well, yes and no. But I mean, like with the Challenger disaster, I mean, somebody pushed to go ahead with that launch, even though the conditions were risky, right?
Well, that's a failure in the institution. There were people there was a Morton Thiokol engineer who literally went to his grave knowing that he could have stopped that and tried to stop it, and they didn't listen to him.
Wow.
Right. So that at that point that becomes an institutional failure because they had engineers saying, "Hey, this is not safe to go."
Sure.
And at some point along the chain, that message didn't get passed up or listened to.
Yeah, I guess. That makes sense. That methodology sounds fascinating. The kind of massive multiple redundancy kind of thing. Like I wish I had a better source for this, but I have read similar things about the way the Manhattan Project was run.
They had multiple teams running independently, right?
So yes, but in that case, it was because they were just trying to get it done as fast as possible, right? Because there were concerns about other factions working on the same research.
Yeah.
But the thing I've read is that, and this was like barely explored science at that point, right? Like, in fact, I want to say, like, I think fission itself was only discovered in the late 30s.
Fission was replicated in the lab in the late 30s. We knew it could happen, but not like in a chain reaction kind of way. Yes,
kind of like that whole sequence of events was only demonstrated like 4 or 5 years before they finished the bomb. But also, this is a cheery topic. But specifically, what I've read is that because they were solving all this stuff as they went, every time they hit a problem where it seemed like there could be more than one solution, they forked the project and tried all solutions simultaneously.
Yeah. And
that is why we ended up with two like fairly different bomb designs that happened simultaneously, right?
Like both worked. Yeah.
Like Fat Man and Little Boy are different types of bombs, and it's because there were multiple valid routes to this conclusion.
Well, they're different mechanisms. The bomb effect is still like
I know.
The nuclear mechanism for the bomb working is still the same, but it's like the mechanism for making that happening is different.
Sadly, the end result is definitely still the same. But yes, that's what I mean. The action inside, the way it's carried out is different. Well, I would that setting aside the very grim nature of nuclear weapons, like just from a methodological standpoint, that kind of stuff is fascinating to me.
Well, we've had our friend Phil Broughton, also known as Frenulum Labs, also known as the Black Blood of the Earth guy, on the list to have on the show since like we literally were booking him when the pandemic started and we stopped being able to record in person. So as soon as we can get back and record in the same space at some point, we'll get Phil on to talk about that because he is a radiation safety person and has all of the good. Hey, I fucked up and now I'm irradiated stories. Some of them are very grim. Some of them are very funny, and some of them are grim and funny simultaneously.
Are these all situations with him being irradiated or other people?
No. They're like one of the ways you learn from history when you do that job. It seems like a lot rather than learning in practice, because learning in practice has some real cost.
Have you ever heard of the Demon Core?
Yeah.
Was the Demon Core the one with the screwdriver incident, or
no? The screwdriver one was different. That was that was a pile.
Are you sure? Maybe recreation of the nice. I think it is.
The Demon Core is the one where the screwdriver slipped out and it smacked together and went critical.
Yes,
and blasted everybody in the room.
Like I think everyone that was in that room died.
Eventually.
Let me see. Okay, so I've got here.
The pile was when they dropped the radioactive material into the pile of radioactive shit, and that went bad.
Okay,
unsurprisingly.
I'll put it this way: on the Demon Core Wikipedia page, there are sections entitled "First Incident" and "Second Incident."
Yeah, look, Phil can tell us all sorts of good stories.
There's a reason that thing was called the Demon Core, I suppose. Yes.
Do you know about the third Manhattan Project team that wasn't given classified information?
No.
So they paid a group of scientists who didn't have access to any private information to see how long it would take them to build, after knowing that an atom bomb existed, how long it would take them to develop the process for making an atom bomb work from first principles, rather than having the classified information that they developed during the course of the Manhattan Project. It took like 3 years.
Really?
In the 50s, 40s, late 40s, early 50s.
Faster. Oh, were they just trying to gauge how fast other countries could potentially get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when all the non-proliferation stuff, that's when that movement started to, hey, we should stop, or else every country's going to have these. And eventually one of them will, it delayed the problem that we had when the Soviet Union broke up by 30 years, probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've read, I think the Soviet Union only got the bomb when they did because of smuggled secrets, I believe, is what I've understood. I listened to a hardcore history about nuclear weapons and specifically about a lot of the scientists who very quickly turned on the idea later in life, and how tragically little traction they got with politicians and trying to suppress or dampen that stuff.
Well, you had to fight the Reds, Brad.
Was it Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer spent the rest of his life atoning for his crimes.
He was the one who really took the hard turn.
I mean, look, the exploratorium exists as part of his hey, I've got to make the world better for the thing that I've done plan.
Oh, really?
Oppenheimer was one of the initial founders of the exploratorium.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Meanwhile, von Braun was a fucking former Nazi.
Well, look.
Yeah.
At least the Russians didn't get that. Like we picked the former Nazis we wanted. I can't even make a joke about that. It's fucking bad. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, sorry. I mean, it is the Halloween patron episode.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Nuclear annihilation. It's scary.
We on The Simpsons rewatch with the kiddo, the Treehouse of Horror ones. She's skittish about horror because of some bad experiences in Roblox.
Mm-hmm.
But the Treehouse of Horrors have become a favorite. We got to the we got to the monkey's paw.
Oh, are you doing it in order?
We started at the beginning.
This is the second time on a podcast this week I've talked about Treehouse of Horror, but so that's interesting because on the Ramblecast on Nextlander this week we were talking about how those early ones all harken back to or parody like really awesome classic horror. It's all like Twilight Zone episodes and The Shining and
The Raven,
Hitchcock and Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, all that stuff, like classics of the genre, right? And then like
George Romero.
And yes, exactly. And then the recent ones are like they're parodying like Toy Story and TikTok. And like it's just I think you've kind of lost the plot here a little bit.
I mean, look, I haven't regularly watched Simpsons in a long time. I'll be interested to see how long the interest in watching Simpsons lasts in the house. My guess is like if we get to the 10th season, I'll be kind of impressed. We usually watch like an episode or two a night.
Well, so actually, I started to say, like, on the one hand, it's interesting to hear that she is interested in those Treehouse of Horrors that reference stuff that came out like, half a century before she was even born.
Or more than that. Like, she really liked The Raven for what it's worth.
Well, so that's the thing, though. As I say that, it makes me think back to like, that's how I learned about a lot of old stuff was reading the giant stack of Mad magazines from the 70s that my cousin had.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the only reason I knew what Watergate was as an 8-year-old was that I was reading old issues of Mad that parodied it,
My favorite 30 Rock joke is when Liz Lemon is trying to impress Jack Donaghy's girlfriend and Flight of the Valkyries comes on. I think she's like, oh, you like Wagner? And she's like, oh, no, I'm actually a big Looney Tunes fan.
That's pretty good. So true. Did we even answer Ian's actual question?
I would take that.
Would we take 1999?
I'd take 1999 internet. That sounds great.
The one thing I would really have a hard time giving up there is that the home networking gear that I love so much these days didn't really exist then. Like, I love the internet of that era, the way communities were arranged and what the general like etiquette and politeness of the internet were, and like how kind of, again, less socially harmful it was, but like that was before routers, basically, like.
No, I had a router in 1999.
You sure?
Pre-com, yeah. It was ISDN.
Sure? Really?
I plugged my ISDN modem into that router, and I got one Ethernet port out, and I had a hub in the closet. 100%. I ran 10BASE-T in my house in 1998.
Wait, was it a router or a switch?
Come on, Brad. It was a router connected to a switch, sir.
Okay, so you had a firewall.
I had I had multiple IP addresses because we did not have. It was routing to publicly. All of the addresses inside the network were public facing. So it was still a router, but it was not. There was no network address translation. That is the part that was missing.
I see.
The other thing that we always have to say when we talk about this is that in 1999 the internet was a place for rich white people mostly.
Sure.
Which yeah.
Or at least middle class,
Yeah. I mean, if you had a computer in like 1998, 97, you were pretty well off, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
You had a fair amount of disposable income.
That's true. But I'm thinking back, I was just reading about this the other day, that remember things like AOL and Prodigy ended up becoming ISPs. So
that's true.
That stuff had been democratized to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, in AOL, you'd get a disc with infinite free minutes or whatever every month in the mail.
Like there were ways to get internet access even at that point that were not super burdensome. Anyway,
did you ever play Magic, Brad?
No,
me either. I'll skip that question then.
Ironically, not a card guy.
I like Dominion and the games that kind of spun off of Magic that make it more accessible and not about collecting cards. But never played Magic.
I could see that. Goodness gracious.
Can we do this double J question?
You might have to. Oh, there it is.
I want to hear about your favorite board games.
Oh, I see. I hate to be a big, old, wet blanket. I'm just not a big board game.
I'm a big board game person. Gina and I play board games once or twice a week, usually.
What do you got?
Right now, 2-player games. We're playing a lot of Azul. I mean, it's more than 2 players, but it's great with 2 players.
That's interesting. I was going to say, like, I don't even think of board games as a 2-player thing. I always think of them as like, oh, we need at least 2, if not 4 more people to come over to actually make this good.
No. Okay, Brad. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas first.
Okay.
The one of the things that the Germans have done well is board games, and one of the things that the profusion of German style Euro board games has created a whole subgenre of games that are awesome for 2 players, including some that are like 2 players only. So like there's a game called Seven Wonders. It's a fabulous intro German board game. There's a game called Seven Wonders Duel that takes the kind of core mechanical loop of Seven Wonders and makes it work with 2 players. It is one of my absolute favorites. Azul is like a tile placement game, so you're making patterns basically on this board. And the scoring is it's very mathy. It's like and it is a great 2-player game. We just started playing Jaipur, which is another like designed for 2 players game that's awesome, really fun. And let's see, the last thing that was recommended by Nick Sutner and Doug Wilson on Twitter the other day that we just got and have played like twice is called Lost Cities. And the thing that's neat about it is if you like playing like bidding card games like spades or bridge or hearts or something like that, where you kind of have to say, okay, I'm going to get this many tricks, and your partner has to play off of that and say, I'm going to get this many tricks. It kind of takes that mechanic and puts it in a game that you play with 2 people in a way that's interesting. So yeah, those are my, we also play a lot of Splendor and Machi Koro.
Jeez, that's a lot of games.
Look, I'm going to go and tell you, I have to put another shelf in here for fucking board games because it becomes a problem, but board games are great. Love board games.
Okay. Sorry, I'm in a daze here. There's so many questions.
There are a lot of questions.
The other problem, or the real reason I paused there, is that I just came across a question that I really wish we had taken on the real episode this week, because they included a picture, and I really wanted to use that picture as the episode art.
I mean, we could record it here, and then I could just cut it in seamlessly, because I haven't edited that episode yet.
We could do that. It's the one about the robot named Marty.
Wow.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it. From BTM McNellis.
That picture is a little bit dystopian. Like, it literally looks like something out of a dystopian future, like Minority Report type movie.
Well, let's just save it for next month.
Okay. All right. Well, crap. Now we've teased it, and now we're not going to.
Well, we can do it here. People can hear it twice.
We'll sit on it. Okay. And then promptly forget it next month.
If we don't do it next month, send it in again, McNellis.
Yes. Okay. How about Steam? Talk about the Steam Deck one briefly.
I'd talk about that.
Jay Marshall, do either of you plan on getting a Steam Deck? Also, do you think the deck form factor will catch on in the larger PC landscape? I do not. I have I am not a portable video games person unless like absolutely necessary.
And I love laying in bed and playing a game.
I can't, my hands always go numb. Like I can't ever, I don't know if it's because I use computers too much and I have too much nerve damage, but I can never find a position lying down holding something like a Switch where my hands don't just start tingling after 5 or 10 minutes.
Do you have the grips for the Switch?
No.
You got to get the grips, man. They're like $15. The grips make holding the Switch possible.
Okay.
I'm interested in this. Like, I could hold a Wii U controller indefinitely because it had those little grippy things on the bottom, the nudge, the edges.
Yeah.
There's a $15. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them now. At the time I got our Switch, we got a $15 thing that just kind of clips onto the back, and you take it off and you put it in the slot, and it has like it's just little grabby things, like little. I don't know. They're round and they're curvy, and you can grip onto them pretty easily. That dangle off the back of the Switch, and I can hold it indefinitely with that thing on. Having to hold the thin thing was really uncomfortable. I ordered a Steam Deck partly because my daughter plays a fair number of PC games, and I would like to not have to have a full PC setup for her to play that stuff.
Sure.
And partly because I like to lay in bed and play games. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. I hope it does well for him.
I mean, it's like, I suspect it will be huge, you know, like the pre-order situation just like was off to the races instantly.
Yeah.
And like, you know, unlike me, most people do seem to like portable stuff.
Well, I mean,
you know, like it is a very popular thing like that,
yeah.
like laying around in your house playing on a portable thing apparently is gigantic.
Well, but also like the idea of being able to like if I was doing a train commute still and being able to play Hades or something on my train commute, that sounds freaking awesome.
Yes, like I distinctly wonder if the Steam Deck is going to bite into Nintendo's whole thing kind of significantly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my Switch use over the last year was playing indie games that I already had on Steam. Like when Hades and Spelunky added save state syncing across Switch and Steam, that was a huge deal for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I just realized that on like no later than day 2 of the Steam Deck being available, people are going to get Yuzu and Ryujinx, the Switch emulators running on that thing.
Yeah.
And if that thing runs Switch games better than the Switch,
yeah,
it's GG Nintendo.
Well, so then the other thing about it is if you have good Wi-Fi and a gaming PC in your house, being able to stream across the Wi-Fi to the Steam Link, Steam Deck, is like I use Steam. I have Steam Links on all the PCs or the app, depending on the box, and we do that a lot. Like
that's good.
Yeah, like we play Ultimate Chicken Horse even in the living room on the Steam Link all the time. It's great.
You know what I think is the coolest feature of the Steam Deck, because of course I do, is the idea
Patron stuff.
No, the idea that you can install any OS you want on it, and at that point, it actually like you could almost see a world where it's like a portable work device and not a gaming device, because like they demonstrated this months ago that like you can straight up plug it running any OS into like mouse, keyboard, and monitor, right?
Yeah,
like you could put Windows 10 on that thing and just use it as a mobile. It's much smaller than a laptop, right? Like it's like a relatively powerful PC that is smaller than a laptop, and you could kind of use it as a mobile work machine. It's
like a weird, neat shaped laptop. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is it's not anything super new, because there's a ton of like there are literally a ton of those types of form factors out of China all the time.
Totally.
But like having somebody who's like, I think at this point it's safe to say that Valve is pretty good at, like, the Index has been pretty good. They've had some problems with controllers and stuff off and on, but they've been pretty good about supporting them. And even though nobody bought the Steam controllers or Steam Links, those both have been like, the Steam Link has been really reliable. Like I have, like I said, 2 or 3 of them, and they've been working for years for me and are pretty good. So
I have a related question here.
Yes.
Another cue that follows on from this. It comes in from, let's see, me.
Oh, hi, Brad.
It turns out. So I have a Steam Link in the closet. I have never used it. I bought it for $10 when they were clearing them out.
Mm-hmm.
But I basically don't have room for it in the living room. I don't have enough. I'm out of HDMI ports. I'm kind of out of shelf space.
Yeah.
Are there other ways to replicate the Steam Link functionality with the devices that I do have hooked up that I don't need to drag the Steam Link out for?
So I don't know if there's like a UWP app for Xbox for Steam Link, but like there's an Apple TV app that I've used that works quite well.
Like an official one?
Official one,
made by Valve? Wow.
Yeah. You can also install Moonlight on the Apple TV, I believe. Moonlight is the open source client for the NVIDIA Game Stream thing. We talked about this a few months ago, or a year ago, I guess now. But yeah, I use the Apple TV one in the living room fairly regularly, and it seems fine.
Kind of makes me wish we had an Apple TV. We have a Roku.
The Roku, I'm. It's not like an urgent thing, but I'm getting rid of. We have an old Roku, like the 3rd gen one, which is like the oldest viable Roku.
Okay.
And the moment that thing goes away, I'm switching, I think, to an Apple TV just because all the rest of the options are real added up now. Like even like the TV interfaces are real addy. If you buy a new, like if you buy a new Samsung TV, even if you buy the expensive ass one, it has ads in the menu, and that just is offensive.
The amount of ads and also data harvesting that modern TVs and set-top boxes do is gross.
Yeah. So my intent is to just buy a TV and then never hook it up to the network, I think, and use a box.
Good reason to run a pie hole.
Yeah.
It turns out.
Pie holes are great.
If you want to see a bunch of empty ad units instead of ad units with ads in them, we've got, I think may have come out with another model since then, but I think we have the newest Roku. It's one of the 4K Ultra models.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Steam Link and Steam Link-like situation on the Roku is very robust from what I'm seeing. I'm surprised that there's not like a bigger like root your Roku and install whatever you want on there kind of situation.
Roku collects a lot of data. So they're probably pretty anti that.
Oh, I know, but I figured somebody would have busted that thing open by now.
The Steam Link stuff is on Android TV and the Shield TV and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can also do a Raspberry Pi. Let's see, it's on LG TVs, I think.
Okay.
Samsung TVs, maybe Sony TVs.
It sounds like we've just chosen poorly in terms of the devices that I have in there. I have, let's see, Series X, PS5, a Roku, a Wii U.
Ooh.
And a PlayStation 3 in there.
I gotta say, I was looking at the Roku the other day and was like, at the Wii U the other day, and was like, I don't think anybody's touched the Wii U in like 6 months at least.
No, it hasn't even plugged in for a year now.
Well, like the kiddo used to play Super Mario World fairly regularly, but then we like completely beat it and
got the 96 stars.
Yeah, it's like we've finished the secret levels and the whole thing, and I think she's probably done at this point. The last thing I saw is a thread from last September on the Roku channel that says, "Hey, we would like Steam Link and Moonlight, please."
Yeah,
and then nobody said anything.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great, but oh well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you want to do any more questions, or you want to talk about?
Can we talk about Inscription?
Episode planning or Inscription?
Can we talk about Inscription, Brad?
Inscription. It's pretty good.
I like a Slay the Spire. I like a deck building card. Like, Brad, you realize that these deck building card games are basically taking German style board game mechanics and applying them to a video game, right?
Oh, I get it, but it's on a screen, so I'm instantly
okay.
way more interested. Although the card game is cool and it gets cooler the more you play it in Inscription, but that's really not the thing that makes Inscription what it is.
The thing about it though is the card game is real good.
But it is, you're right.
Yeah,
the more you play it, the better it gets.
In those I played a lot of those where the card game is kind of good or okay, and I just lose steam on them after a while. If I don't have to think about the card game a little bit. Okay. We should talk about this in a non-spoilery way and then warn people if they were going to do spoilers, I guess.
Yeah, this is really hard to talk about because I don't even know how far you are. And the further you get into that game, the more there is to spoil. It's definitely a game that hides a lot of secrets.
Yeah, and the secrets are good. I accidentally spoiled myself by looking at the Twitch category page one day.
Okay.
For Inscription.
Okay.
So, don't do that, I guess.
I'm tempted. I haven't quite finished it. I'm tempted to ask what you saw, but that might be
okay. So I played the game and it looks like a PlayStation era kind of it's like 90-degree turns,
grungy 3D. Yeah, grungy polygons.
Yeah, and I beat 3 bosses and then some stuff happened, and then some other stuff happened.
Okay.
And now I'm fighting more bosses there. Seems like that's where I left off last night.
In a different place?
Yeah.
That
in
looks,
a different place.
That looks different?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, I do know about that, but I'm trying to be vague so as to not,
I see.
Yes, things do look different.
I see. Okay.
But okay, the core thing that you start with is the card game in this cabin, and it's like part escape room, part deck building, like Slay the Spire, and the soundscape. I thought it was a spooky game for Halloween, spooky game for Halloween, which it is kind of.
Yeah,
but it's also more than that.
There's something about that first part of the game that I have tried to define in my head, and I haven't really come up with a good way to describe it. Like, it's some weird layered like meta skeuomorphism. Like, yeah, here's like
it reminds me of a lot of 90s games.
Well, so here's what I'm trying to get at, and this is hard to articulate, but okay, so the in-game motif is that you are sitting at a table. There is a physical table that you sit down at and play this card game against another character. Right?
But the game starts with a person loading up a computer.
Well, that's different. I mean, that's the part we might not want to get into too much if we don't want to spoil.
Okay.
But within the context of this this log cabin you're in, playing this card game against this character, the character, like, the in-game motif is never that there is anything going on there except there is a person on the other end of the table playing this card game against you, right?
It's like you have a DM. It's like he's a DM playing against you, kind of, right?
But the thing that it does is that it creates this insane level of atmosphere because he keeps dragging things onto the table, like into the frame, including like putting masks on himself, changing his patterns of speech. Like,
it's like a DM would if you were playing a tabletop campaign, right? Almost.
So maybe the best way to describe it is it's like if your DM had a bag of holding next to them, and they could pull any prop in the universe out of it and slap it onto the table like faster than a human should be able to move. Like it creates even though like in game the motif is never that you're like away from a table, you're always at a table, but he's always dragging like branches or skulls or like, the air fills with like embers. Like, despite never being out of this log cabin, like the amount of atmosphere that they create and like the sense of transportive, like you're in another place kind of thing is mind blowing. It's really hard to describe.
Well, and then there's also this escape room layer to that room too, where you're in this room and there's a bunch of weird props around and you have to kind of figure out what to do with them and how to combine them in different ways. And like, there's some puzzles to solve and there's some mysteries to unravel. And like, there's a lot going on there. It is
like maybe another example of what I'm talking about is like one of the, it's roguelike and like each node on the board can be a bunch of different random encounters. And there's the one where there are some survivors around a fire. Mm-hmm. And you can like warm one of your cards by the fire to upgrade it.
Yeah.
But the wording is always like, the survivors beckon you to warm your card by the fire, but you notice one of them can't stop drooling.
It's like all the side characters have agency, even though they don't. Like one of the things that happens is the cards talk to you.
Yes. Right.
Right. Like the cards will come up and be like, man, that was a terrible move. Or
totally.
Or, hey, use me for this one. I want this, please. Make me good.
Right. But so like the thing with those survivors, for example, is they're just wood carvings. They are tiny little wood carved figurines. That's all they are. But because of the way they dress the set for every encounter in that thing and the way that's written and all that stuff, like there's so much menace in that encounter, even though these are just little wood figurines. Like it feels like so much more than the presentation actually is.
A lot of that is the soundscape too, like the sound effects and the music. Like the music it's very unique because it's like this dissonant, aharmonious kind of like your brain hears it, you're like, oh yeah, I've heard this before. 90s chiptune stuff, like PlayStation 1 or maybe Dreamcast era something. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, like it just goes buck wild and your brain is just like, oh God, I'm terrified. This is scary. And I don't know why.
Or, like when you fight the prospector boss, the percussion is the sound of a pickaxe hitting rocks,
Yeah.
Like it's just, oh man, it's just dripping with atmosphere. It's incredible.
Did you there's a connection between the people around the fire and your character?
Is there?
Yeah.
Huh.
Not in the beginning necessarily, but later on.
Interesting. I think I'm quite a bit further than you, but I don't know what you're talking about, so I might have missed something.
Anyway,
there's eventually it starts peeling its layers back. Like you come to understand why the cards are talking to you, and in fact who those cards are.
Yeah,
and there's like 3 layers of storytelling in that game.
I think I'm in the second layer probably, if I had to guess.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, which is the fun part about it's weird because it's a game that's kind of impossible. Like, I usually don't care about spoilers because I think that plot is the least interesting thing in a game. But in this case, the way the game unwraps is really compelling. Not
only that, but the sense of mystery before it unwraps when you see all this crazy stuff happen. It's like, why the fuck are these cards talking to me?
Yeah.
Like, why is the Stoat copping such an attitude?
I love the Stoat, man.
The Stoat and the Stink Bug are both pretty. You'll see where that stuff's going.
I figured that part I got.
Okay.
But like the Stoat and the Stink Bug and the jacked up wolf.
Yeah.
Are all personal heroes of mine.
You see
I understand that part, but like the escape room part is surprisingly compelling.
Yeah.
From talking, I streamed a lot of this over the last few days of streaming, and from talking to chat, everybody has a different like the stuff that you unlock in the escape room part directly impacts the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. In a way that like they were seeing stuff that they hadn't seen on their playthroughs. Like pretty significant chunks of game were unlocked as a result of my approach to some of those puzzles versus their approach to some of those puzzles and stuff like that. There's also a lot of body horror in this game, just as a
yes.
Like, if you're squeamish, if you're nervous about mouth bones,
there's like a fair amount of first person self harm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is the kindest possible way to describe that. Anyway, just be thoughtful.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
I have got to finish that game this weekend.
I want to bring it home. It is maybe the best. Like it's probably like I can't. It's amazing to me that Hitman 3 came out this year. But like it is high on the list for me. On this year's games.
I saw Justin McElroy tweeted last night. I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but he basically said, I finished Inscription today. It is the best game of the year. And depending on how it sticks the landing, I might not disagree with him.
I'm like, it's good enough that it makes me, I didn't play the developers' earlier stuff.
Yeah. The same guy made Pony Island and The Hex. I never played The Hex. I did play some Pony Island, and that game was also pretty impressive in pretty similar ways.
Yeah. Like there's a weird, I feel like maybe this is how people felt about Undertale, that spent a lot of time playing JRPGs and like engaging with those. Like I never was super, like I played Final Fantasy 3 on the SNES and stuff like that, but I was never like a JRPG guy necessarily.
Yeah.
But I did play a lot of like Stone Keep and those kind of like dungeon crawly adventure type games that were like RPG light, basically.
Sure.
And this is hitting, at least the first part of this hits a lot of those vibes for me.
Yeah, the tone is different. Like I don't mean to be reductive about Undertale, but like my kind of general impression of Undertale is that the tone is like twee internet humor kind of thing, a bit. Whereas the tone in this one is much more like sinister and sardonic and kind of
macabre.
What I mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Same like style, I guess I would say, but different tone. In a way that clicks with me much more.
Yeah, I don't know. I am like I decided to only play it on stream without really thinking about what I was saying, and then didn't stream for 5 days or 6 days, and was like, I just want to play more Inscription. I just want to play more Inscription. I don't have time. I want to play more Inscription. I want to play more Inscription.
Yes.
And then yeah,
I keep having to play other games for job, but if it weren't for that, I would have finished this already because it's really something.
Yeah, I hope that I can just keep playing the card game at some point because I'm enjoying the card game.
Like the Steam reviews are like full of people going like, please take the card game from the first act of the game and just make it a whole game. Like I want more of that. And I get it.
And like the characterizations and stuff. Yeah, it's just really good. It's a neat game.
It's written incredibly well. Like
and it's like $20. Just, so
it's the writing is it's just the sheer amount of creativity in it is just kind of startling.
It's not often I play something that's this smart. So.
Yes, it is like this. Like this game has put Daniel Mullins on the map in a way that, like, it's like career defining, I think.
Well, I mean, everybody has, like, I'm sure maybe you don't, but I have like a list of studios that are like instant buys when the new game comes out. Like, when there's a new Supergiant game, I'm going to be there because, like, all of their games are incredible. Pyre might not be my favorite thing, but I still enjoy Pyre, and I'm willing to I'll plunk down whatever they want for whatever their next thing is, right?
Yeah.
This is he's on that list now, as far as
for sure. I kind of want to go back and finish Pony Island now.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out Hex and Pony Island. I think probably
the motif of Pony Island, if I remember, I haven't played it in like 5 years, but it's like a black and white, like old 80s arcade machine.
Okay.
Except Satan has possessed the ROMs of the arcade machine.
Perfect.
So like you're trying to play this old side scroller, but the devil keeps interfering or something like that. That's my vague memory of it. And like you start digging into like the service menu of the game and like trying to banish demons or something. So
it's like Super Mario Brothers 2, but the sun is hell.
Basically, yes. It's also very meta and layered.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Like I like somebody who's thoughtful, not just about the game, but about the world in which the game lives.
Yes.
So you should play Inscription. That's the TLDR here.
Yeah.
Might have to update the name of the games channel. We also, for people who are curious, one of the things we added for patrons is Thread Club has been kind of shepherding this, but we have threads for currently popular games that are in discussion in the Discord. So if you want to talk about things such as Metroid Dread's ending, which is very good. Did you finish that yet, by the way?
I did.
Okay.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. And Inscription, we have threads for that kind of stuff. And if you want other threads, I'm sure you can just ask Thread Club and they'll hook you up.
Yeah.
But it's actually been really nice to have a place that I can go and talk about Inscription. Although, like, I look at this, the chat for Inscription right now is like, I've been super busy at work, so I haven't had time to finish it, but I do keep thinking about it. And then a paragraph of spoiler, and then somebody else is like, oh, spoiler. It's like,
it looks like an FBI document.
It really does. Everything's redacted.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got to finish it so I can go back and read the threads.
Yes, that's the other reason I want to finish it is I want to click on
click on these spoilers. Yeah,
that's right.
I guess it's the end of a Patron episode.
Yeah, that'll do it. Hope we didn't talk about too much video game.
But
sometimes you just can't not.
When something special, I don't get to talk. I don't have a venue for talking about video. I know you get to talk about video game all the time. I don't really have a venue for video game talk anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
I miss it. But yeah, this was a Patron episode. All right.
Sure was.
We'll be back next month with another one. And then there should be an episode. I think maybe I'll post this on Saturday so we don't do double episodes on one day.
Oh, what? But this episode references the episode that will go up the following day.
Episodeception, man.
No. Hang on.
What? Do you have a question?
No, but I told Warbird that we might actually read one of his questions.
Oh.
And then we didn't.
You mean War Rocky Boo Lockbird?
Yes, and I can't remember which one I was. There are 11 of them in here.
Good God.
And most of them are unanswerable.
I mean, the Thunderdome one's not bad.
There's one. Listen, I'm going to. There's one very straightforward one about VR, but
I got it.
Actually, hang on. You know what? No, here's the one.
Okay, hit me.
What's your favorite kind of mustard?
French's Yellow.
Really?
I ate a lot of hot dogs, Brad.
I was gonna say, like, literally the perhaps one and only use for French's yellow mustard is on a hot dog. I would also put it on a hamburger.
I would put it on it has to be a grilled burger though. If it's like a fancy burger, I don't want a French's. I want like a Grey Poupon or a Dijon, something on there.
My burger stack growing up, because we had a lot of cookouts.
Yeah.
Okay. Lay down the bottom of the bun.
Yeah.
The French's yellow goes there.
Yeah.
Then the burger.
Yeah.
Then the cheese, then the tomato, then lettuce.
Tomato under lettuce?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the tomato will slide off of the lettuce if it's on top.
I mean, unless
you just really smash the burger.
That's part of the danger of the, that's why you got to, with great power comes great responsibility,
that's right.
Brad.
That's right. And then mayonnaise on the underside of the top bun. And that is my, like, totally vanilla standard. I'm not getting crazy with bacon or jalapenos or anything, but just the standard hamburger.
Okay, so my burger stack is bun. If I'm doing ketchup and mustard, I'll put ketchup and mustard, but usually I'm a just only mayonnaise guy. So I'll do bun, mayo. If I have pickle slices, like the long boys,
yes. Okay,
I'll put them down there on the bottom
pickles
as a good crunchy base.
Mm-hmm.
If I have circle pickles instead of like oblong pickles, the circle pickles go on the top.
Okay.
The burger, cheese, lettuce, tomato. Maybe if I grill the onions, they go on the very bottom.
Okay.
If I'm eating raw, like a 2 rings of raw onion, that'll go above the tomato.
Okay.
And then more mayonnaise.
Onions, raw onions red onion was also a big one back home.
Oh, we never.
Now that you mention it.
Ooh, fancy. We never had. We were always a yellow, sweet Vidalia.
Yeah, we had a lot of those too. A lot of onions around the house. I for whatever reason, the last 6 months or so, I have been like borderline obsessed with Grey Poupon.
Ooh.
Which for some reason, after never really caring about it my whole life, but I've been going through a lot of Grey Poupon.
So I like if I'm eating a corned beef sandwich, Dijon, like a Grey Poupon, or even like a stone ground is always the jam.
Sure.
I use a lot of the secret of a good vinaigrette is a little Grey Poupon.
Ooh.
Put a little Dijon in your vinaigrette.
Ooh, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. There you go.
Mustards.
Congratulations. You finally got a question onto an episode.
We've broken the streak.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't about college football.
Yes.
Thanks to everybody for bearing with us this week as we run an old episode. We appreciate it. We should be back to normal next week, we're hoping, with a regular episode of the show. As always, this is the part of the show where we thank our patrons. So thank you, patrons. And since it's the end of the month, in addition to thanking our executive producer tier patrons, we also thank our associate producer tier patrons. So first off, thanks to executive tier patrons, Andrew Slosky, Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, James Kamek, Joel Krauska, join the TechPod gift swap Wedge. Nice job, Wedge. That's a good plug there. Redacted, Twinkle Twinkie. Thank you also so much. And thanks to our associate producer tier patrons as well, including Andre M. Burke, Arthur Gies, Dave Julian, Eric Klein, Graham Banks, Jad Rita, Jason Nealand, Jay Mabey, Joseph Thorne, Nathan Phelps, Steve Lynn, Thomas Shea, and Travis Rosner. Thank you also so much. We really appreciate you. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Tech Pod. See y'all then. I guess I don't have to beep since Brad's not here.